Good evening. I'm going to pin this conversation. Good evening, all. Alexander, where we go? I think it's going to call you in now. John Jordan, how are you? And thank you for your presence. Always an honor. Bluegrass Bowls, what's up? Can you have him stop that? I just told him not to. Malta Lumber, what's up? I literally just told my guy not to turn on the song. I walk out of the shop and he turns on the song. So give us a couple of minutes. I'm all right. It's a pretty good day. Getting some things done. It's the end of the day. Alexander,
There we go.
what's up, brother?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Set up here.
So, is this your first Facebook? It's your first Instagram live?
No, I've done two other ones.
All right, cool. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
All is well, man. You know, it's another day, another hustle.
Yeah.
First, tell us who you are.
All right. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Scott Alexander. I run Alexander Designs. I started my business about 6 years ago now. I've been full-time for 11 months.
Okay, that's it. We get to that.
Oh.
Just name what it is. What we're going to do is we're going to go through some questions. And after the questions, we'll get into your story, your journey, how you got to do what you're doing.
All right.
I just want you to know there's some greatness in here. John Jordan.
Hey, John.
I'm sure there's a lot of other wonderful people as well, but you know you gotta honor the great ones when they're amongst us. So let's get started. What word or phrase do you overuse?
What phrase do I overuse?
What word or phrase do you overuse?
Ooh. I don't know. Do work? Probably.
Right. What is your least favorite thing to do?
Ooh, least favorite. I have things that I'm least good at. So I'm not good at relaxing.
Okay. What is your most favorite thing to do?
Oh, probably turn bowls or work with wood in general. Cut open a log. You know.
What is the one thing you would change about your spouse or significant other?
Oh, my spouse. Thanks. I think that she is incredibly good at her job. She is a home ec teacher, and she loves her job and her students love her. So,
All right, so you're not going to change anything about it.
what's that?
I said, so you're not going to change anything about it.
No, we've been married for 19 years, so I know better.
What makes you tick?
What makes me think?
Tick.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm still figuring that out.
Okay. What irks you the most?
Oops, sorry. I'm having a really hard time hearing. My speaker's not working so well. All right, what was that again?
What irks you the most?
Oh, I don't know. A lot of things do. Lazy people, basically. People that whine and complain and never do anything to change their circumstances.
All right. What sound makes you happy?
I'm sorry, you cut out again.
What sound makes you happiest?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have a happy sound. I mean, any kind of wood spinning against a bowl gouge on a lathe is a great sound. Other than that, I think the last time my wife and I went to Maui, we were up on the volcano at the lavender field, and you could hear the wind just breezing through the lavender there. It was amazing. So,
Right. What is your favorite cuss word?
fuck.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
What profession? Oh man, there's so many things I still want to try. I've always wanted to learn how to play the cello. I don't know. There's just tons of stuff out there to do.
Okay. What would you like on your tombstone?
I don't want a tombstone, actually. I think it's weird to take up space on this earth after we're gone.
John said I sound awful.
It's kind of echoey and crackly.
How about now?
Sounds a little better.
Huh. Let me, give me a couple of seconds. Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
John, is that better? What is it about your personality that drives your business?
Oh, I'm stubborn. It's not an easy business to try to make work. And just sticking with it. I don't know, sticking with something long enough to make things happen, I think, is the key to what I've been doing. Not that it's going fantastic, but,
Write it out.
pretty much.
What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
I'm stubborn.
You and me both. Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle?
On the same motorcycle? Like somebody riding behind me or somebody else riding another motorcycle?
Somebody with another motorcycle.
Oh boy. That's a really good question. I don't know if I've ever thought about that. Probably my dad, if he could still ride. He was a Harley guy his whole life, and he has MS now and can't ride. It would be pretty cool to be able to do a cross-country trip with him.
That's cool. What was your favorite concert?
Ooh. God, it's been a long time. Sober or under the influence?
Now you remember.
I don't know if I have a favorite. Probably Tool, I guess.
Okay. When was the last time you cried?
Probably this week.
Why?
Uh, I don't know. It's just been bumpy lately, just trying to find ways to make things work. And it's not been an easy year. The last 2 years for any small business has been rough. So,
Right.
what choice do we have? Keep going.
There's no choice. You got to keep pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
What impact do you want to leave on the industry?
Oh, I don't know if I've really thought about it as the industry. I think for me personally, it's been about putting work out that isn't the norm anymore. Either boring goods that are well made, or goods that are just made like crap. Just putting stuff out there that I know my customers won't need to replace again. Which is another struggle with business. It's like being in a candy company that sold an everlasting gobstopper. It's probably not the best business plan.
Right. When was the most difficult time for your business, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, well, I think this year has been the biggest struggle. Just, I'm not, I don't know. I live in a small town, so I don't have a local audience for what I do. And, the last year and a half of, what's going on with the pandemic has really impacted a lot of my customers' ability to spend money. So, it's really just about trying to get my work out there in as many ways as I can without spending a fortune doing it.
And how's that going?
It's a work in progress. I think I have more failures than wins, but you hope that your wins at some point, add up to something worth getting at.
Yeah. Do you have any black friends?
Locally, no. But when I was in art school, absolutely.
Okay. Do you often see people of color in your?
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Do you often see people of color in your industry?
I don't think so. It might just be because I'm not, wood turning industry is not that big. So I don't know if I know a whole lot of black wood turners.
Okay. Who would you most like to have a conversation with?
Oh boy, alive or dead?
Both.
Anthony Bourdain for dead. Oh boy, that one.
Um, who's the alive?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of living people. Just kidding.
So there's no one you like to talk to a lot?
In my personal life, or people that I would just like to talk to?
Yeah, anyone.
I enjoy talking to John Jordan occasionally, Mike Mahoney, a couple of people in the industry that I admire. But, I spend the majority of my time just, working in the shop and networking and spending time with my family. So.
Okay. Will you travel to the moon?
Would I travel to the moon?
Yeah.
I don't know. If it was a free ticket, sure.
What was your best business move?
Oh boy. I don't know. Honestly, I have feelings that I think it's better to be great at one thing than it is to be okay at a lot of things. I don't know that I've really figured out that that's the way to go yet or not. Um,
Okay, so let's talk about that, right?
sure.
Being in business for yourself, you got to do a lot of things.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Emails, reaching out, marketing, setup, acquiring, procuring everything you need to do, building relationships with arborists, log yards. I mean, there's so much. So, out of all that, what do you think is the most challenging? Because you do everything alone, right?
Yeah. Um, I think all of it together is just challenging, figuring out where you should be spending your time. I mean, obviously, I'd much prefer to be out in the shop making, but if all you do is make all day long and don't do any marketing, you just
You
have,
won't make any money.
yeah, exactly. Um, but, honestly, I kind of enjoy most of the parts, and I've gotten better at a lot of them over the years. I mean, just, for a long time it was, looking for stock to turn. And then it became, okay, I'm better off buying stock. And now it's like, okay, if I'm buying stock, I'm better off buying 20 or 30 logs at a time so that I'm not having to constantly run to get materials. That, and you never know, the log market's been so crazy this year. When I can actually get good stock, I buy a bunch. As long as I'm buying stock that doesn't go bad. I mean, cherry and walnut can sit for a long time, but soft maple will start staining, well, real quick. So, but yeah, I mean, I honestly, I enjoy, and I think you kind of have to enjoy most of the things when you're a small business. Otherwise, it all becomes too painful. But there are certain things I don't like. I mean, trying to figure out Facebook and Google advertising, it's like hitting your hammer or hitting your fingers with a hammer repeatedly.
And all those damn phone calls.
Yeah.
What was your worst business move?
Oh, hollow vessels. Just why I almost never make them anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I fell in love with making them. They were just so much. I loved making them. I had very little success selling them. So I just sort of, but it was one of those things where I wasn't willing to sort of give up when I should have. So I think I would have been further ahead where I am now if I would have sort of given up as that being a moneymaker. So.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone just starting out?
I guess it depends on what they're starting out doing. As a maker, is that kind of where you're headed?
Yes.
I think that the mistake that most people make, John, that's how he makes his millions. I think most people make the mistake of trying to monetize their business or their craft too soon. I would say get to the point where you feel like you're making a good product before you're worried about selling it, which I know is difficult, but I think that that's sort of the key to getting a good start in business. And other than that, just don't wait for yourself to have the perfect plan. That's I think hangs a lot of people up, is just waiting until they get it all figured out. And speaking from experience, I don't know what the hell I'm doing most days. But I still keep going. So
it's kind of like waiting for the perfect time to have kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a mentor?
No, not in a traditional sense. I belong to a couple of online communities that have sort of steered me in some new directions lately, but not a normal mentor relationship, no.
Is when you started out, is there anyone you found particularly interesting and wanted to be like or motivated you to turn?
No, actually, I knew very little about the turning community when I started. I started turning actually to make chairs. I was building furniture as a hobby, and I sort of cobbled together my first lathe out of parts bin stuff that I found on Facebook. And I made a bunch of chairs, and then my wife wanted to know if I could make a bowl. And I was like, I don't know, but I'm sure I can figure it out. And I kind of fell in love with it right off the bat. I was terrible at it, but that was all I needed. I was just excited about the process. So, I bought enough tools to get going and trial by error. I didn't really, I didn't take lessons. I still haven't ever had a lesson. And I certainly have, I have people I look up to now in the industry, but, at the time, it was just me in the shop trying to figure something out.
I think I've gone to several wood turning shows. Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Atlanta, maybe Sarasota, a couple others. And what I found very interesting was the show people have been doing shows forever, right? And they're all cool. The internet people don't do shows.
Right.
So you have two different wood turning communities that kind of don't know about each other.
Right.
If you're on social media, you know about the social media people. But the social media people don't know about the show people if they don't go to shows.
Right.
Because there are a lot of amazing wood turners who can't get on Instagram and
Right.
actually don't care to.
Yeah. I think there is some crossover, but I think for the most part, yeah, I think you're pretty accurate. I know for me personally, my location makes it tough. Then I've got, a wife and two reasonably young boys that I just, taking time away from them to travel just doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now.
How many U.S. cities have you traveled to?
Oh boy, I don't know, quite a few. Before my previous life, I was a art director, creative director, and photographer. So I traveled a lot for the company I worked for.
Do you own a passport?
Yes.
All right. So that's it for the questions. So now we'd like to talk about, I guess, how you got into what you're doing. If high school is too far back, start with college, wherever you feel comfortable. If you could take us down the road on how you became to do what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah, so high school, yeah, it was a few years ago, but no, I was an AP art student in high school, so advanced placement art. I went to art college.
Where?
Didn't really find my thing while I was there, so I dabbled in a little bit of everything. I kind of enjoyed.
Where'd you go to art college?
Columbus College of Art and Design in Ohio. But yeah, I tried, painting, sculpture, just about anything you could imagine, and just never felt like I really found my thing. So I've been sort of, I don't know, tasting things for the last 20 some years, trying to figure out.
Okay, we're in college. In college, did you have a part-time job? What was life like for you in college?
I had a few jobs, yeah, to stay afloat. I didn't, had to basically make enough money to pay rent and my expenses. So, the school I went to, it was tough. I was there. it was rated second in the country for the amount of homework given to students, second to Harvard. So you really didn't have much of a life outside of class the first couple of years. It got a little bit easier as it went on, but it was just survival basically and a whole lot of work. So, which kind of led into how I've been for my adult life. You know, I'm better when I'm making progress somewhere. But anyhow, I mean, I think that any time in my life where I've been making something, I feel like I'm where I should be doing or what I, you know, where I should be headed. And anytime I've sort of walked away from that, I've become pretty unhappy.
Okay, so after high school, I'm sorry, after college, what did you do?
I worked as an art director for a catalog company for, oh boy, I think it was 7 years before I started the photo studio for them. So I ran a pretty large commercial photo studio for a catalog company for, oh, well, I worked there for 21 years. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a great place to work for the first 15 years. So, you know, by the time it started getting really bad there, I was already a few years into my business, and it just didn't make sense to close up shop and move my family somewhere else. So, but anyhow, the thing that sort of launched me into making things at a bigger pace was my wife had to have a surgery. It was about 7 or 8 years ago, and I had to give up riding and racing dirt bikes for a summer to help her and take care of the kids. And I don't sit around well, so I built a pizza oven outside. And after that, I just haven't been able to stop making things. So it was, you know, furniture, chairs, now bowls. You know, I'm working on some other stuff in the background still. None of it's materialized yet. So.
Okay, so you've been at this place for 20 years. Then you went off on your own. What was that like?
It was terrifying, to be honest. I mean, I had 21 years of a steady paycheck, you know, and in the last 10 years, it was a really good paycheck. So, you know, just, I guess, realizing that life doesn't end when you lose your job, you know, and that things are going to work out one way or another. You know, I think the biggest mistake I made was just working too much. I took on a bunch of wholesale accounts and didn't really think too much about how profitable that was. And once I took a step back and looked at it, it's like, okay, this makes no sense. I'm giving away 90% of the profit on everything I'm making. So I kind of backed away from that and have worked harder on selling just direct for the most part.
Yeah, a buddy of mine who's a pretty successful business owner, he always said, Robert, if you're too busy, raise your prices.
Right. That's a tough one. You know, I could do that if I was doing just wholesale, but if I raised my prices selling my work direct, I think I'd be out of business.
So. That's what I'm saying. If you're too busy, that's a problem. If you're not too busy, then you leave it where it is.
Right. Yep.
So while you were at your past company, it appears to me that you were still doing a lot of work. You were a lot of bowls.
Yeah, I was working 40 to 50 hours a week at my job, and then another 40 to 50 in my business every day, every week for 5 years. So yeah.
Okay, what was the point of working so hard? You had a good paying job.
I loved what I was doing. You know, I knew that I wanted it to be where I was headed for my future. And, you know, it's a craft that I feel takes a really long time to get really good at. So I felt like I was making up for lost time, basically, you know, just, you know, being 40 some years old and trying to reinvent yourself. You know, you can feel that clock just ticking away, you know. So that like I said, I don't sit well. I'm terrible at relaxing and taking it easy.
So how did you go about pricing your work? You said you did it wrong before.
I don't know that I priced it wrong. I just never priced, when I was pricing my work, I never priced it for wholesale. I priced it for what I thought I could sell it for directly. And then I was selling wholesale at those prices. And since I stopped wholesaling, I actually lowered my prices a bit, and keep enough profit margin that I can afford to do paid advertising. So.
Log to lumber. I'm 55 and wish I had the bravery to do what you did. You kind of do what you have to do.
Pretty much. And I mean, the reality for me personally was that, the industry I was working in changed so much in the last 20 years that it just wasn't a viable job anymore. So the catalog world for a very long time paid high-end commercial photographers really good money because their skills were needed. And then the internet happened and digital happened, and those skills started getting paid less and less. And now it's to the point where I couldn't make a third of what I was making in my old job in that same field. So for me, it was just, I'm certainly, not gonna go work for somebody else and make even half of what I was making before, and doing something that I just didn't have enough passion to do anymore. So, there's a cost to everything, and there's a cost to running a wood turning business. And, part of that is knowing that you're going to be limiting your income, to some degree. And not to say that I know that it's possible to build a company around what I'm doing, but it's going to take a lot longer than most people are willing to bleed for. So, and thankfully I lived, below my means for 21 years. So, there's months where I'm living off of savings still. So
you're working 90 hours a week. You got a full shop set up. What was the difference between that and then not having the other job and you're all in your wood turning? What's the difference? Did you have to get any more tools? Did anything change other than working more?
No, not really. I mean, I think the biggest thing that's changed is I keep my shop very organized and orderly now for the most part. I have the time to do that. Then I keep rearranging the shop because it's just a 20 by 20 foot garage right now. And I'm actually adding a CNC machine here in the next month or so. So it's kind of, it's it's tight quarters, but no, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of major tools to do what I'm doing, at any scale, really. But my life is a lot different now than it was when I had two jobs. And I don't know, the flexibility that I have now, I don't miss my kids' events. I get to drop them off at school and pick them up every day. I don't miss soccer games. I don't miss swimming. I still work a lot of hours, but I just flex my time wherever I need to. If that means I'm out in the shop at midnight, so be it. But it never really feels like work. So that's kind of the beauty of it. Emotionally, it's tough, but physically and doing the work, like I could do it 100+ hours a week every week and be happy. So.
Okay, Brian Clark Studios asked a pretty good question. Who's your favorite lathe?
My favorite lathe?
Yeah. What kind of lathe you got?
Robust American Beauty. It's the favorite lathe I've turned on. I've turned on quite a few. That's I think the only other lathe I'd like to give it a shot would be the VB36 at some point. But honestly, if I never do, I'd be fine.
Now, John, which lathes do you sell?
Same.
Okay. All right. I got to give my man a plug. I got to give him a plug. So, Jamie66, what kind of CNC and how are you operating it with your turning?
It's not going to be for turned items, obviously. Basically, it's going to be used to make some other items that I made prototypes by hand. And, you know, when you sit down and figure out the time that it takes to make something and the price you know that you're going to be able to sell it at, it's like, okay, I can't do this by hand, you know, but I know that there's some viable products that I've developed that I think are going to be great. I just can't make them by hand. But as far as what machine I'm getting, I'm not sure yet. I'm going back and forth between 4 different machines, and yeah. But when I figure it out, I'll be posting it up. So
Now, you getting a full-size machine or one of the small ones?
no, it'll be a 2x4 bed. That's about all the space I have in my shop to give to it right now. But for me personally, it's, you know, the ability to make small runs of things. It'll just work great because I'll be at the lathe turning or sanding, and the machine can be, you know, cranking out, you know, parts in the background. So, you know, I think it'll be a good addition to the business, but it's also another big learning curve, you know, just not knowing anything about doing the programming part of it. It's going to be, you know, some trial and error for quite a while.
Do you have any plans on getting a bigger shop?
Absolutely. You know, my goal is to get set up so that I can take advantage of some of the needs in our local areas. There's a bunch of sawmills here, but there are no kilns. So there's a desperate need for kiln space. So at some point, I would love to have a couple vacuum kilns. Yeah. I need to come up with the cash, though.
A lot of cake. It's a lot of cake.
Yeah. But no, I you know, looking at, I've drawn up building plans. We'll hopefully be closing on land this year, and that's where we'll build the shop at. And it'll be 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, most likely. And you know, with an overhang, so I can do some work outside. You know, bring the lathe outside in nice weather like Glenn Lucas or Mike Mahoney does, and you know, let the chips fly and be good stuff. But that's going to be a few years out, most likely.
Secret Woodworks, you are one of the people who got me started in turning thinking.
Oh, sweet. But it all depends. Like, I've got some things that might be pretty awesome. Like, I'm in the finalists for Oprah's Favorite Things this year. So I might be featured by Oprah, which is kind of cool. That could certainly push me ahead a little bit faster than I've been going.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of exciting. But, you know, it's one of those things people just don't realize how much work that takes to, like, you know, just outbound emails to magazine editors, etc., finding who you need to send emails to or who you need to gift work to to get in front of the right people. So I've been spending way more time doing that lately than I have been in the shop. So it's been kind of an interesting change of gears for me, but I'm kind of enjoying it.
Okay, Brian, again, how long did it take you to develop the beating technique using a bowl gouge?
Oh boy, how long did it take? Honestly, it didn't take that long.
How did that come about? Was that an accident, or was that in your mind before?
No, I'm certainly not the only one that does it. You know, I've seen a few people do it, and I kind of understood the mechanics of it. And then it was just having to figure out what I need to do to get there. So the reality is, I mean, if it's something you really want to learn, you know, watch a couple videos and then get a bunch of really shitty wood and start practicing. You know, and honestly, it took about a day of just not stopping and figuring it out. And then I got the rhythm of it. And then now it's autopilot. I can do it with my eyes shut. So it's good fun. I enjoy it.
Jay made a good point. If you want a 150, better order now if you want it this year. Yeah, that's something you should consider because everything is back. Oh. Everything.
I'm assuming that's a CNC machine?
Yes.
Okay. That's not one of the ones I'm looking at.
So you and I talk a lot, not a lot. We talk enough through DMs, and we talked about you having the sawmill. Are you still using that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I use it every week.
Now, how has that benefited or changed your production?
Um, it's kind of a weird thing. So it depends on what I'm doing. I still do chainsaw work occasionally because some logs just don't. I mean, if a log's not real straight without a lot of taper, it makes more sense to do chainsaw work still. But, fortunately, I have enough good sources for, really high quality saw logs that's not usually the case. But, a couple of the log yards I work with save me veneer log cutoffs. So every once in a while, I'll get a dump trailer load of those, and that's all chainsaw work because they're all 2 to 3 feet long usually. Unless I modify the mill to do real short logs, which I just haven't got around to. But no, I think with a real nice straight log, it makes way better use of the stock I get. There's something dumb about taking a high dollar saw log and whacking it up with a chainsaw. The kerf, and I mean, I'm pretty darn good with the chainsaw, but I'm still not perfect with my lines being parallel. And I think the biggest change for me was, being able to make completely repeatable sizes. So like the ability to make, 80 or 90 bulb lengths that are all 6-inch thick exactly. And so, it makes making consistent work a lot easier and quicker. But it's, if you look at it as, I can't really justify having it for the volume I'm doing, but the time it saves me and the money it saves me on materials, it makes sense. But, if I use it a half an hour a week, that's probably about all it gets. Saw up 2 logs and I'm good to go again.
Right, it'll take you a while.
Yeah.
Collins Custom Woodworks, what CNC are you looking at?
Oh boy. A few different ones. There's one from Laguna that I'm considering. One from Axiom, and there's a couple of other brands that I'm sort of looking at. But there's almost too many options out there, and not knowing which one's the best, and taking time to call the companies up and talk to them. And
now this is in this forum we're talking. This is also a way to find out about more, because someone may happen to have one.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And
not only that, but just I'm getting to the point where I'm not afraid to call up a company and see if they want to work with me on social media, to get a discounted price, which, that's tough. Like nobody really wants to. I guess I'm not pretty enough. So,
don't stop.
Yeah.
Brian, do you enjoy dry or green turning?
I only turn green.
Sure.
I turn rough outs only to sell to other wood turners. So all of my own work is green to finish thickness, unless I'm doing spindle work, which I rarely do. But yeah, I really, really hate turning dry wood. So
how many blanks do you sell to other wood turners?
It varies by month, but like this morning I sent out probably 40 bulb blanks in the mail. So it's a decent chunk of my business at this point. Yeah. So it works out well, especially because my pieces are very specific in size and shape. So when I core them out, they don't necessarily make a shape that I'll use for my own work. So being able to sell my byproduct as well as use all the cutoffs that I get from the log yards, that's basically what I use for all the bulb blanks that I make to sell.
Yeah, John says promote those turner blanks.
Yeah. And then I sell good wood, which I do.
and Jay Henry said, what do you use to core your bow?
What I use to core them?
Yes.
I use both the one-way and the McNaughton system. Anymore, it's pretty rare that I use anything but the one-way. It's just way easier for repeated results. But yeah, now if anybody wants dried bulb blanks, I just go to the link in my bio, the Wood Turner newsletter. I'll be offering them for sale on my website direct here this month. I just have to figure out some custom coding problems I'm having.
Okay. Lumber Rick, does anyone need basswood? Where are you located?
Where am I?
No. Lumber
Oh,
Rick. Yeah, he's asking if anyone needs basswood. I'm just trying to find out where he's located. So we skirted around it. Where do you want to go next? What's in your view the next 2 to 5 years?
My hope is that before my oldest goes or gets done with high school, that I'm able to be in a proper facility and have a small staff. I don't have an interest in having a huge company with tons of employees, but 3 to 4, to people to sort of help with all the parts of the business and make a little family. That's kind of where I'm headed. So not sure if I'll get there or not, but I'm certainly going to give it the best try I can.
And how many years is that?
Well, he's 3. Basically, he's a freshman in high school now, so it gives me, 3, less than 4 years. So.
And in that time, you want to have the place purchased and built?
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a stretch, but I think I can get there at this point. I've kind of, I don't know. I think one thing that I think a lot of people make the mistake of in businesses is making their initial goals too high, but then making their goals for the future too low. I think that, at some point you start to build on the knowledge that you've learned over the last several years, and you can start to accelerate certain parts of the business. It's just, lots of little tweaks over a lot of years starts to make a big impact over time. So as long as the world doesn't implode in the meantime. So
be careful what you say.
Yeah, I know.
If there's anything different you could have done, 1 as a turner and 2 as a business person, what would those things have been?
Oh boy, like making something else as a wood turner.
Is there anything you figured out later that you wish you'd done earlier?
Oh, I should have taken a class when I got started. It would have gotten me ahead a lot further or a lot faster.
Yeah.
Years, yeah. But like I said earlier, I'm stubborn. So, and for me, when I started, it wasn't really about making it a business. It was just about the desire to be good at something as a craft. It's sort of what has driven me my whole life. It's never really been a financial drive. But then being in business as my only form of income, that's changed now. So,
time is of the essence.
What's that?
The time is of the essence.
A little bit, yeah.
There are a lot of people. John would travel, and I think Phil also would travel and do shows to teach people.
Right.
And that's why I went to the shows. And I think that, because before I got into this, I was in the cars, and I wanted to restore the engines in old Porsches and Volkswagens. And that became too discouraging because the learning curve was crazy.
Real high, yeah.
And I didn't have anyone who was doing it myself in the garage.
Right.
And it was too much. It was way too much.
Well, unfortunately, I think that, what we have available today, like, I don't know how long ago that was for you, but today, I mean, you can hop on YouTube and learn damn near anything.
Right.
It's pretty amazing. So, I mean, if you were trying to do that from scratch now, it might be a little easier. Although there's a lot of really bad info on it.
Yeah, it would be a little easier. So, how do you manage breaking down the lumber, turning the wood, and shipping it out?
The whole process?
Yeah, how do you do that? Is there a particular days of the week that you ship? When you get enough stuff?
Well, you know, I guess it depends on what I'm doing. So like I've tried to, like I said, I buy my logs in higher volume now. I generally do my production runs in much higher volume now also. So I'll do, instead of sawing up one log, I'll saw up 4 or 5, and then, you know, take them all to the bandsaw, round them all, turn them all, and then my process is a little different because I'm green to finish thickness. So I'll turn them, and then the next day I'll sand them to 220 grit or 240, and then I rinse them off, clean them, and tuck them away to dry, and then I sand them again when they're dry. So it's a double sanding. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it works. As far as when I ship things out, it's basically whenever I get orders. So, you know, it's hit and miss. There'll be 3-4 days where I don't have any orders, and then I'll get 5 or 6 orders at once. So it's usually orders get packed at night after the kids are in bed. So, but I don't know if that answers the whole question or not. Sorry.
It does. I'm reading Phil and John's comments. John says if you're smart enough to sort out the good from the bad, and Phil goes, beginners don't know the good from the bad. That's a problem.
Well, beginners should actually only turn shitty wood. You know, turn the shittiest, freest stuff you can get until you're good enough to not ruin good wood. So.
But I think what John said is probably the most important, is being smart enough to figure out what good and bad wood is.
Well, and I think, you know, I know what John's saying, but I think it's really not necessarily smart enough. It's, you know, having cut open enough logs to know what you're getting into before you get into it, really. So, and I'm still learning, you know, it's, you know, and even, you know, good sawyers will still pick out a log and cut it open, and it's not what they'd hoped was inside. So sometimes you just get skunked.
I'm gonna go with John. Smart.
Smart.
Sometimes, man, you keep doing that same thing over and over again.
Right.
And you have to be able to read a log.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I still learn every time, you know, and it's kind of fun because for me, like growing up, my great uncles they ran a logging company. So I spent many, many summers riding around log trucks, going out in the woods, sharpening chainsaws. I wish they were still alive to see what I'm doing, but I got a lot of education when I was young about it. And then, you know, little by little, like every time I go to a log yard and meet somebody new, I start talking up, you know, the people that work at the yard. Like the one I buy from the most, all of the log hands are Amish guys. So every time I go, I make sure I bring factory second bowls and give them away. And they all they'll set logs aside for me that they know I would like, or they'll just share info. So it's always, you know, I learned a ton of info from those guys. They've been doing it for longer than I've been alive in some cases. And it's always just good chats. And other than that, I started making some more local Amish friends that run horse logging operations. So I've been going out to visit them and see how they work. And I'm trying to get to the point where I'm buying direct from a landing rather than through a second party just to save money. And it's really cool if you've never seen a horse logging operation going, it's amazing. You know, I honestly don't know how we ever got away from it. You know, it's really efficient. It doesn't damage the woods like traditional logging does. and it's just cool to see horses doing that kind of work. But I'll be doing a video of it here shortly, so I'll share on social. It's just really neat seeing those animals do the work, and
yeah,
it's cool.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
Is there a particular wood that you see most of or don't see in your area?
Well, Northwest Pennsylvania is known for the best cherry in the world. Basically, it's, I live basically in the middle of the Allegheny National Forest, which most of the cherry comes out of there that I buy. The cherry we have here is unbelievably beautiful. Reasonably little pitch or those black streaks in it. Real thin sapwood, real stable stuff. So yeah, cherry's the easiest for me to get. There's tons of soft maple and ash. Well, a little less ash than there used to be, although I'm still surprisingly able to get veneer ash, which is pretty cool. And now that the price has come down, it's affordable. But, other than that, it's, I struggle to get walnut. I have to be a little bit adventurous with how I buy walnut. I basically scour Facebook classifieds for yard trees, and occasionally I'll get lucky. Like I bought 8 trees at one time from somebody up in New York State, but transporting them was a bit of a pickle because I just have a dump trailer. So I took 2 trips, got pulled over for over the weight limit, got a nice fine.
I've done it. I've done it.
Well, I think the most fun part about getting pulled over is I was on my first of 2 trips, and I asked the officer as he was leaving, what happens if I get pulled over again on my way to drop the logs? And he's like, well, just show them the citation. They can't write you another citation within 24 hours. And I didn't bother to tell him I was turning around and driving 4 more hours to get the others.
I like that. John's funny. Yeah, John, loggers are
I see that. Yeah, you would love it, John. You really ought to. If I'm getting together with these horse logger guys again, you should plan a trip up. You'd really get a kick out of it. It's pretty neat. So.
All right. So, we have any more questions? Is there anything that we missed that you want to tell us? Anything you want to promote?
No, not really. I mean, other than, if any wood turners are looking for dried bulbs.
Wait a second. We need a tour.
A tour?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, God. Hold on.
And Brian wants to any advice on pricing. And Phil and John, you could chime in the comments if you want as well about any advice on pricing.
My advice on pricing, I think that most wood turners make the mistake of charging only what they absolutely have to make a profit without thinking of your marketing costs. It's one thing to sort of have a hobby business where you can move X amount of stuff at a fair price. But if you're looking to scale a business and have to spend money on marketing and advertising, you're going to have to figure that into your pricing. So, I mean, if you don't have a profit margin after you pay yourself of at least 30%, you're kind of screwed. That would be my best advice. But just, I would say other than that, figure out what other people are selling their work for that's similar-ish and use that as a starting point. Otherwise, the market will tell you if you're priced right or not. That's the reality of it, if you're getting in front of the right people. So, but yeah, let's see. How can let me see if I can reverse this. There we go. So here's where I store most of my finished inventory or my not finished inventory. I've got stuff in the basement, but let's see here.
Okay, let me ask you. Does being in a window, does that affect it? Being in the sun?
It does for cherry, but they're not finished yet, so it doesn't really hurt anything. Hold on one second. and beginners do charge too little.
Yep.
All right, so my morning commute is an easy one. So out the door and 10 steps into the shop. And so come in the shop and glass cabinets right here on the right. So all the bowls that I sell textured are blasted with a glass media. And let's see here, come in the door. And I got my air compressor and my lathe and sharpening station up here, dust collection, my big bandsaw, and I've got storage cabinets in the way here. Hold on. There's my winter heat. All right. This area is going to be where the CNC machine sits.
Okay.
And joiner, planer, drum sander, and buried table saw that gets very little use. And, storage cabinets. That's it. That's my shop. My log storage and sawmill is at my parents' house 10 miles down the road.
Now, do you have any of your finished stuff near?
Finished?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Go back in the house. Captain Dum Dum.
Hey, bud.
What's up, dog?
All right. Hold on 1 second. So yeah, these are all the everyday bowls I have on the website right now.
And what do you finish them with?
These all get, I use, oh God, what is it? Tried and true Danish oil. I do 2 coats.
Okay.
And then I top coat with a wood wax that I make. So it's walnut oil, beeswax, and carnauba wax mixed. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, there's a beaded bowl.
Nice.
And all of the beaded bowls get media blasted, so they get glass too.
Your signal.
There's a big custom bowl that's going to be going out here next week.
Yep. Okay. Now, how do you get that color? Is that a stain, or do you char?
It's no, just iron oxide, so vinegar and steel. And,
okay, so that's white oak?
No, this is cherry.
Cherry.
Yep. Cherry ebonized as well, so does walnut. Oak definitely does, but yeah, if you want to, I'll occasionally layer in something else to warm it up. You can just boil the hell out of black tea to give it a little more tannic acid and a little more brown color if it gets too cold. So yeah, otherwise I've got my website inventory is in our dining room right now. This is just, the things that people don't think about when you're running a small business. It's like, thankfully we have a very big house that I have room to store all this stuff, but I can't wait to have the house back to being just a house again. So, oops.
Okay, so John said, anyone want American Beauty? Tell me you watch this, and he'll share the profit with Brian, media blasting is sandblasting, but you use a different media other than sand.
I don't use sand. I use glass.
Yep, that's why you say media blasting and not sandblasting. I'm with you, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've tried several different media. There's a specific brand that I can get locally from a local place that I like the best, but they don't even ship it. So thankfully I can get it here. But I've tried, God, I think I probably tried 12 different blast media before I found one that I'm real happy about.
Brian, it's a light abrasive, and it cleans things thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah, and basically the media that I use, it's abrasive enough that it removes the softer summer wood and leaves the winter wood behind. And as long as you don't get too aggressive with it, it does a good job. It's different on every wood. I mean, cherry doesn't really work the same as oak's amazing with the media glass.
Ashes as well.
But yeah, they both are. I actually like, what is it? Non-ring porous woods better for sandblasting or media blasting. It's not as, it doesn't come off as being as aggressive, but it's still a really nice texture that it leaves behind, which I personally, I like that added texture when you're passing a bowl around a table, so it's not as slippery. See, what are the other questions there? Reused. Yeah, the glass beads, it's in that glass cabinet. So basically it just resiphons. I'll use the same blast media for a couple months until it starts losing its edge.
Yep, so it's no longer effective.
Yeah.
Do you have a branding iron for signing?
I do. Yeah, it's just a big brass iron that was machined by, I can't remember, it was like Cranford Design Works, which I don't think they're in business anymore. But there's tons of places on Etsy that'll make them.
Very nice. Scott, I think we're good. Is there anything I missed?
No, I don't think so. I just, as a general statement, I would just say to anybody that wants to start a business, that's listening, just be willing to stick it out and learn skills that you're going to have to learn to move yourself forward. I think too many people start and don't have immediate success and quit, but the skills that you need to learn to make a business work it's kind of insane, but when I'm sitting here 6 years in and I think back at all the stuff I've learned, it's pretty amazing. So I just say stick with it. And, especially if I think it helps if you're passionate about whatever you're doing. I think if you're just starting a business to make money, then that's probably the worst way to start a business.
And it's the wrong business to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your time and wishing you the best. Much appreciated, my brother. It's a pleasure having you. And for everyone tuning in, we thank you as well.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Take care.
All right, brother. Signing off.
All right.